I tried to address this a little bit, but I think my point wasn't well made. First, we have to talk to the CDPHE, and they have to give us comments on Ron's report. Once we work out all the comments, then we apply, or we ask them if we can implement this program and begin the testing. So it's that implementation that we may be able to do as early as this fall, possibly earlier. It depends largely on the CDPHE's review process. Then our long-term testing of this particular product, which is a pH adjustment, begins. And that the study at that point is to figure out what the appropriate dosage is.
Well, there's the short-term change in the water.
This is the short-term change. The short-term change is to get an approval from the health department to change to this.
By this March 15th for the first
No. You have, the district has, I think, 2 years to make the change.
But I know what they say you have, but is that you're saying that there's a lot of tests that need to be obtained before you make an accurate assessment?
No, we have, those tests are in this report.
Then you've made the assessment. Okay, then I'll move on. Are you looking?
Well, we decided we were going to be 3 minutes per person.
Yeah.
Well, for an important issue, I have a question. Where does it say 3 minutes?
Well,
We decided.
we did.
How about 3 minutes per question?
How about 3 minutes in an answer? Because this is a lot of time that we've spent as a community putting it together, and I feel that these, have to have adequate responses.
I'm happy to give my 3 minutes to Dean, if that helps.
Thank you.
Dean, I want to make sure that we're clear about what we're talking about here initially. So the first step is we have a treatment technique that's proposed to the district. If the board approves that, and then CDPHE approves that, then sometime after March 31st, at the discretion of the board, we can implement that treatment technique. And that would be more than likely at some point in 2012. So that can happen as soon as we get authorization from CDPHE once the board selects a treatment technique. So I just want to make sure we're clear that this is in our near future. And then that testing that Ron is talking about takes place for 18 months with the new technique being implemented.
Right.
I'm not going to comment on that right now.
We have enough testing done to size the equipment. When you size the equipment, we said we predict it'll take 12, maybe 13 milligrams per liter. But that equipment is variable. We can, if we find out we need more, we can probably go up to 30 or 40 milligrams per liter. If we had to, we can go down to 5. So for installation, the precise dosage is not required. We have enough range of dosage here that the equipment can be sized.
This is not part of your 3 minutes. What is your issue about this?
I want the pH changed more quickly. I want it so that we don't have, because we know that if we raise the pH more alkaline, we don't have as much a corrosive issue. I am concerned that there isn't something being addressed in number 11. What is the relationship between chlorine and OPP? That hasn't been discussed. And this conductivity issue needs to be discussed as well. So I need to know if there's a corrosive assessment, based on what? Are we using these coupons? That's the only methodology, or are we using something
Dean,
else?
can we start to kind of maybe just to organize the thoughts, go through them one at a time? Because right now we're taking 5 questions into one.
Right.
Well, then because I'm so...
Well, first, let's one thing at a time. Take a deep breath. One thing at a time. The first one, you were asking about, you want pH change more quickly. We can only do that as soon as the state will allow us to do that. And this is part of that process.
That doesn't take very long to do.
Well, we just said
We didn't know, but that's not what we were saying.
I know, but when I read this and I saw the statute, it says we have 18 months to conduct the study. I needed clarification.
No,
you're not hearing what's been said.
No, I think what Dean is saying, that's true. We could decide that we want to do it, but we could say we're going to take 18 months to do it.
Right.
I think that's what you're addressing.
I know. Yeah. And that's what we feel as a community.
And that's not what we've said we'll do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really clear here
I hear you.
that this can go quickly, and that, we can contact the state, give them this report, and they can say, yeah, if you guys want to start implement, after a month and a half or 2 month period, or however long it takes the state to review this, And we can make the decision rather quickly.
Right, but we
So-
need the state to let us change our water treatment plan. That's what you have to do to adjust your pH with the new product. This product is designed to adjust the pH. So you're suggesting that we adjust the pH more quickly. Well, we have to get this product, which is intended to adjust the pH, approved.
Right.
So you can't adjust the pH until you have an approved pH adjustment method.
Right.
We're working on that method.
But I think Dean's issue, and I don't want to put words in mouth, is if we're going to do it, we don't need to wait 18 months.
Correct.
That's just the outer limit of it.
I'm hearing, if I could just, I think I might be able to bring this together. I mean, actually, I'm hearing a commitment on the board's part to move on this, not to like go by the
Well,
state
you know,
outline.
Yeah.
This is how long you have. I think I'm hearing, and I just want to get a sense that you want to get this done too.
Well, yeah, and since the last meeting, we've had Ron put his study together on a very expedited time frame. And the board's already spent, you know, what, $5,000 for the study, so there's clearly a commitment to move on.
And I also want to make it clear, because I know that new people have showed up since they made this point, but we were making this a priority at our last board retreat, which was a year ago, to review the corrosion control plan because it had been implemented by previous management. So it was something we were doing anyway. This is something we were doing anyway, and I do not understand why there has been such volatility around it. It is totally unnecessary.
I'd like to move on with some objective questions.
You can ask 2 more questions, Dean, because I think that will probably take another 15 minutes.
Well,
and then if anyone else has anything, but we are going to move on at 10:15, just so you know, because we have a lot of other things we need to discuss.
The other question I have for you is, are you looking at the relationship between OPP and chlorine?
Would, but it's basically irrelevant. The effect of chlorine on pH is there, but it's so small that it doesn't make any difference. Chlorine does deplete the alkalinity and reduces the pH, but it's not like from 8 to 6, it's like 8 to 7.95. It's a small difference.
Well, in the relationship between OPP and chlorine, I mean, we're trying to move away from OPP.
Yeah.
If you're moving away from
Well,
water,
I
you
want to go back to
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I was thinking, you said that. I was thinking OCCT versus chlorine. And your question was chlorine and orthophosphate?
Yeah.
There's no relationship that I know of.
I did want to go into more detail about that, but that's fine for now. And the other question I said, and I'm understanding a little bit more about your speed as far as, you know, answering what you need to as far as testing, okay? But what can we talk about when we're talking about minimizing the chlorine dosage? Where is it that it says that, or how can we go with chlorine so as not to contribute to the cause of this corrosion? Because chlorine we talked about reducing the pH, but chlorine can contribute to corrosion, and I want to know how we can reduce the chlorine in our water during that time so it meets the state requirement, okay, but we don't have to have it as high as it's coming up, or as tested as it's coming up.
Well, I can answer that, but that's not within the scope of the corrosion control study. I maybe answer it later, but the dosage of chlorine you can debate for a while, but when you get through all the debate, you're going to feed chlorine, and you're not going to feed any more than you have to because it costs money and you don't want to use chlorine. So the chlorine dosage is kind of fixed by other reasons in corrosion control, and we just live with it as far as corrosion control, and it basically is minute influence.
Well, if it's all right with you, by next meeting, maybe we could have a complete answer to the questions that we prepared.
I've reviewed your questions, and with regard to chlorine, the answer is we have to maintain a residual at the furthest point from where it's fed. And we have to do it in a responsible manner. I don't think that we necessarily have to analyze the exact relationship between conductivity and chlorine and the new corrosion control. that you're diving into a level of analysis that's entirely unnecessary. What we have to do is provide a sanitary water as required by the state, and we have to operate with a corrosion control plan. And all of these things are responsible treatment techniques that are approved by the EPA, the CDPHE, and the NSF. I mean, to go into further levels of study, that's been done by people other than the district. We have to operate within their guidelines.
The board needs to be educated on the NSF.
I think the answer
That's
to that.
a corporation that is not a government agency. And we need to also discuss these questions in specific
well, Dean, we're
because
getting
this
way
is
off
part
track.
of our rights as a community to know the answer to. So I am going to suggest that we have an answer by next meeting to these questions that are satisfying us on a both scientific level and also on the level of meeting the requirements of the state too. Okay? So I'm just saying that
Okay, so
you're
I
getting
said we will
away.
look at these, the board, and
I want an answer to these questions.
Perhaps the-
Dean, if I may interrupt, I think Ron did want to answer at least part of your question, and I think
And
we
I
should
can
allow
get
him
before the question.
the time to do that. So
I just want to say that chlorine dosage is something important. You need to analyze. It is irrelevant to the control. I can come up with the right answer for corrosion control without analyzing the chlorine situation. So it's really not a part of this. It's important, but it's not a part of this.
Okay, just to give you, because I printed them out for the board and yourself. You have a copy?
can I just in passing, I'd like to
And
ask you,
anybody else
because
like to have a copy?
there was a group here that suggested and claimed that OPP at the levels we were putting in the water was toxic. The word poisonous has been used. In your experience in water and OPP, have you ever come across an instance where OPP at such small quantities, and OPP in any sense, has been toxic or poisonous?
No, the common dosages of OPP go up to 6 milligrams per liter, and it's safe at higher dosages. There is nothing toxic in polyphosphates. Thank you.
Well, so all right, if we're going to go down that road, which I was hoping we wouldn't go down, I want to ask the question, have there been long-term studies of the long-term health impacts of OPP? I know it's NSFI certified. I also know what that means, and I think most intelligent people do. It doesn't mean that it's really been assessed, that its health effects have been assessed. It means that the ingredients going into it are food grade and safe. You can go to any list, to NSFI's list of food grade things, and we all know that that many of them cause cancer. So I don't really want us to have that fight, but since it got open, let's be clear about what food grade and safe means and what it doesn't mean. Please.
Polyphosphate is an inorganic chemical. The constituents are known to be non-toxic. Long-term studies, EPA has limits on all potentially toxic chemicals, more than you want to know about. And there's nothing in there that says that phosphorus or polyphosphates in this concentration is toxic. If it were, it would be regulated just like copper and lead are regulated.
Right, things we know.
There's
are
long-term
toxic.
studies that copper and lead are toxic,